Welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3 with Platinum X here, and I've already done this once, but it was like a 30-minute video, so I'm trying to just make this a lot shorter and simpler. And this is using hirelings. If you've noticed, I have two hirelings here. This Danton is a druid, and this uh, Fuzzalump is a wizard. Now, after I hired Fuzzalump, I then used Withers to change his class, but I didn't change his class, I just reset it so that I was able to respec him, including his attributes. And if you'll notice, at second level, when you choose your specialization, I chose Transmutation. What Transmutation does is, at second level, when you first select Transmutation, it allows you to brew 2 potions per, attempt. You just have to succeed a DC 15 medicine check. Medicine is a wisdom-based skill. That's why I put his wisdom at 20 and then left his intelligence at 16, because I'm not using him in the party. He is simply a hireling that I leave in camp to make potions and buff my party. So, also at level 6, he gets Transmuter's Stone, which once you have created a stone, you need to cast Transmutation spell of level 1 or higher, or take a long rest before you can create another one. Now, I'm not sure if you can have more than one. I guess we're about to find out if you can have more than one or not, because I've already created one. Now, when you respec him, you'll be able to actually select medicine as a skill as well, because I don't believe he had it, already. But that gives him a +9 in medicine, and just by using guidance, which he's now walking away. You punk, get back here. I did not dismiss you. So to keep these guys from walking away in camp, you gotta hit turn base. Let me cast guidance on him. Oh, he walked away anyway. That's very annoying. Alright, let me get back over here. I was trying to make this quick, but apparently that just doesn't want to seem to happen. Alright, so I'm going to put guidance on him to boost his medicine skill.
Let's get going.
That way, when I go to Alchemy, I've already crafted all of my potions of speed. It looks like I got one more. Before you start crafting, though, make sure you go over here to where it says any salt, to make sure you're not using something that you do want. Like, those are for elixirs of Colossus, those are for lightning resistance. I only have one of those. But there are several of these that I definitely do not need. I can definitely use, like potions of healing. Those are the basic potions of healing that heal up to 10. At this level, I do not need those. I need the stronger ones. So, as you can see, I crafted 2, not 1, potions of speed, which are excellent. They actually double your actions. It says here gain an action along with the other bonuses, but that's not actually accurate. It doubles your actions. So if you have a fighter with multiple attacks, 2, 3 attacks, it doubles it. So they get 4 or 6 attacks. Wizards do get, like I said, it doubles it. So for like a wizard, they can cast 2 spells in the same turn, not just 1. So potions of speed are awesome. And then other elixirs, bloodlust. Again, those salts I don't really need. Craft a couple of those. Heroism. I only have 1 for heroism. Now this is different. This is ashes. So let me look through here and see what I don't. These alchemist fires, I've got plenty of those. I don't need that. Now that failed, probably because my guidance wore off. I rolled a 5. Look at that. If I'd have refreshed my guidance, I would have succeeded and crafted 2 of those, not just 1. See, I got 4 of these when I only crafted 2, but I only got 1 of these because I failed that check because I did not refresh. Why are these on? Oh. Yeah, I did not refresh my guidance before I did that. Oops.
Let's get on with it.
He's going to keep walking. That doesn't work in camp, apparently.
Let's move.
Alright, so I've already demonstrated. I'm not going to keep making potions. I've already demonstrated that. So now what I'm going to do is move on to party buffing.
Never a dull.
So I'm using the same wizard. And let's find out the Transmuter Stone. Now I already have one on Shadowheart. I made him a Constitution. You get proficiency with Constitution saves, which that's for concentration. Concentration is a Constitution save. So I created a Constitution Transmutation Stone for Shadowheart for her to carry around to get proficiency with Constitution. So that adds your proficiency. So I get a +4 to my Constitution save. And plus I got like a 16 Constitution, so that's a 3. So I got like a +7 Constitution save. And then with advantage, I've got the helmet I'm wearing gives me advantage. So that gives me a huge bonus on maintaining my concentration. So I'm going to go ahead and create another one to see if I can have more than one party member. With these stones. Depleted mat. So yeah, you can only cast that like once a day or something. Now I think it did take it away from Shadowheart. It did. So you can only have one of these active. And see how he's now got Constitution proficiency. And it's not really something that's in your inventory. Or wait, yeah, it is. Let me see if I can trade it to Shadowheart now.
There is work to do.
Yes, it worked. So now Shadowheart's got it good. I didn't want to like screw up. This is honor mode. I can't exactly just reload it. So you can swap those stones between party members, but you can only have one at a time. What is that? Green grapes and. All right. Now let's move on to the next buff. Now, so far I've gone over what a transmuter brings to the table. Just somebody you can leave in camp to buff your party and make potions. Not somebody you really need to use. Now I think I've already done it, but I can go ahead and cast Mage Armor on Gale, so I don't have to use Gale's spell slot to do it. And that's not a concentration spell. So Gale will now have Mage Armor until his next long rest. Now, if it is a concentration, I was wondering if concentration spells would work once you remove the person from the party and leave camp, but they do not last. I don't know if like when they actually fade, but that did not work out. Or at least I did that with protection from energy and something else, and that just didn't work out. So I'm not really going to worry about trying to buff with concentration spells. But something like Long Strider is a ritual spell if done outside of combat. So I can actually buff my entire party. I use these 4 right here. So boom, now they all have Long Strider until next long rest. I think I'd already done that, is why that little line that popped up with that line through it. Now moving on to Danton, who is a Druid, is also a buffer. Not somebody that I use, but just somebody that casts the buff spells for me. Now, Hero's Feast is without a doubt the best as far as any single spell buff, because of how much it does It is a level 6 spell, though. That's why this guy is just, he sits in camp. He's a hireling buffer. It's just somebody I leave in camp to buff my party after every long rest. So again, Hero's Feast is a level 6 spell. And notice how big an area that covers. You can literally get everybody in camp, but you might have to like coordinate, trying to move them over and keep them in the area effect before they walk away. But I don't need, these are the 4 guys I use, so I don't need to do that. And this right here is without a doubt the best buff because it lasts until next long rest. The affected entity is immune to disease, poisons, and being frightened. That is major. Especially if you use Cloud Kill. Cloud Kill is poison damage. Your entire party is immune to it. So you can literally cast it on your party and it not hurt them. So again, major buff. And then the not being frightened, major advantage in combat against those things like that frighten you, because again, being frightened, you can't move and you attack with disadvantage. So being immune to frightened is awesome. And makes all wisdom saving throws with advantage, and max hit points are increased by 12 points. Now that is a lot more effective than temporary hit points. You see Shadowheart in the top left of the screen there with a plus 20? Those are temporary. Once they're gone, they're gone. You can't heal them back. So by increasing the maximum hit points by 12, that means you can heal those points and still maintain an increase of 12 hit points until your next long rest. So you can heal those points versus, you know, like I said, temporary hit points. Just once they're gone, they're gone. So again, this thoroughly stuffed is an amazing buff. And once you get to level 11, there's no reason not to have somebody like Danton here who just sits in camp so that you can buff your party after every long rest. Here's another one, Freedom of Movement. Now this I have to cast individually on each person, but it is not a concentration spell. And again, lasts until next long rest. Hang on, I gotta run over here to Karlak. Now what does Freedom of Movement do? Well, if you do it in combat, it says it snaps them out of stun. But, you know, going into combat with it already, basically difficult terrain does not slow you down. So that's awesome as far as when you're just walking around exploring. You're not slowed down by water or, you know, anything else. And you cannot magically be paralyzed or restrained. Now that's not entirely accurate, okay? I've already caught some BS regarding having the spell active and still being restrained by like the Steel Watch. They maim you when they do strike you with that sword, and that keeps you from moving. Well, that's being restrained. So that should not happen when this spell is active, but it does. Slipping on ice. You can still slip on ice with this active, which, again, seems a little BS, but it is what it is. Just keep that in mind. But I continue to go ahead and use this after every long rest as a buff because, again, you can't be paralyzed and you're not slowed down by difficult terrain. Alright, so that's thoroughly stuffed and freedom of movement. I already did Longstrider with the other guy. Again, I would use enhanced ability on somebody, but the thing is, like I said, concentration spells, I don't really think continue to work once you remove the dude from the party and then leave camp. So I think that's about it as far as the buffs. So three huge major buffs, and of course the transmuter. Now that stone you don't have to do every time. You know, once you've got that stone, you can only have one. Which, I mean, you could hire more transmuters. But, yeah, I'm not going to do that. All I'm worried about is Shadowheart and her concentration. There are other there's always, I've been doing this for the longest time. I've just recently been doing what I just showed you. But something I've always done for a long time is I always drink one of these because it lasts until next long rest. I always drink one of these for the same reason. I don't have any more Hill Giant strength, but Cloud Giant strength, sure, why not? Let's go ahead and do that. And there's several benefits to having a high strength. When I created the character, I created a character with an 8 strength because there are plenty of those potions in the game. Hill Giant strength potions, whether you find them, buy them, make them. Plenty of strength potions that give you a 21 strength until your next long rest. And then by the time you get to the city, you start finding these Cloud Giant strength potions giving you a 27. So that's why I started with an 8, because I knew I could always have a high strength using those elixirs. And what strength does, it increases your carrying weight, so you don't get encumbered as quickly, and your jump. Really, the most effective thing about the strength for somebody who's not necessarily a fighter, and doing melee, mostly melee combat, your jump, like the jump distance, especially with some of my tactics here with Shadowheart, like I'll cast Spirit Guardians, and then I can literally jump across the battlefield and just lay waste everything in my path, just jumping through the air with those Spirit Guardians swirling around me. So having a high strength definitely has several, and again, the main thing most people would think about is, of course, damage in melee combat. So again, several benefits to having a high strength. And then there's a couple of other ones that also
Wonder what the next move is.
are until long rest. Now that Hero's Feast, that thoroughly fed buff, it drops a basket full of food. So now the basket does disappear after a while. That's why all the food's all over the ground, because the basket went poof.
Better take that.
All right, so now that I'm done with the buffing, I can go ahead and get my party back together.
What's on your mind? Looks like your troops all trooped up. You'll need to send someone packing if you want me to join. Now we're talking.
And then the other 2 buffs I'll do are with
All the
Gale.
places I expected would find. Would that I could, but your entourage is full.
Only because it's
You'll
a
need to make room for me. Wonderful.
self-cast buff. You
Lead
can't
on
cast it
then.
on others. Unless you use a scroll, you could use a scroll.
We're a long way from Waterdeep.
Like Gale does not have night vision, but I have plenty of scrolls that have for dark vision. And again, that is another until long rest. And also see invisible. Let me see if I have any scrolls before I spend a spell slot. And the thing about buffing, if you use, scrolls versus spell slots, if you use a spell slot and then swap that spell out with another one, as far as what, like unpreparing the one that you buffed and to prepare a different one, you could lose the buff. But if you use a scroll, you don't have to worry about that. So I'm looking to see if I have any see invisible scrolls. It doesn't look like I do, or it doesn't look like they're... Sometimes things are in your inventory that just don't show up, in your radial bar without you actually physically putting it there. But I'm just going to go ahead and cast See Invisible. Actually, you can cast it on somebody else. No, you can't. I don't know why that... it was like waiting to cast. But yeah, it definitely... If you could see, I was trying to select Shadowheart, but it cast on Gale. So that's not something you can cast on other people. But again, until long rest. So that's all the buffing to do before I get started and venturing out. Make sure you like and subscribe, and good luck.